Hello all. When my family left MIKALIŠKმაგრ, a little Belarus shtetl town near the Lithuanian border, they had to run and leave everything behind. My ancestors had no guarantees from any bill protecting human rights, lip service from any head of state, asylum, nor any freedom from state terror. Today I'd like to discuss a little about Putin's chef, Yevgeny Prigozhin, head of the Wagner group of mercenaries. So this guy started his adulthood robbing upscale apartments in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg. After spending around 9 years in Soviet prison, he got into the Frankfurter cart business with his family, and then grocery stores. He then got into casinos and met Putin for the first time when he was the head of the Gambling Regulation Authority. Soon Yevgeny went from Putin's caterer to rising almost to the top, building a private army like Eric Prince's Blackwater, and getting wealthy on contracts fighting covert wars in places like Libya and Syria. Apparently, Prigozhin started to disagree with the false reports being fed to the Russian dictator about the state of the special military operation, and he started to speak out. This man has a lot of leverage as the leader of an experienced private military company that helped to maintain the Russian advantage in the Ukraine invasion. This affair is reminiscent of the false positive scandals of the Colombian military and paramilitary death squads in years past. Yevgeny led a bold and successful raid on multiple Russian military bases this month, in response to attempts to fold his private army, that includes ex-convicts, into the Russian army. The captures included the large military installation in Rostov-on-Don that provided the most important rear logistical support to the ongoing invasion of eastern Ukraine. The news footage of the Wagner corporate flags were somewhat ominous, and reminded me of the Hungarian Arrow Cross of the wartime collaborationist government in Budapest of Admiral Miklos Horthy. The world now considers that a coup d'etat of Putin's Russia is no longer completely remote and inevitable, and a civil war can arise in the nation with the world's largest arsenal of nuclear weapons. The guarantee now for the world order is now for at least a decade of costly instability. Prigozhin marched from southern Russia to within 150 kilometers of Moscow, turning back only because, ostensibly, family members were threatened. Yevgeny Prigozhin is being allowed, after waging what most impartial observers would describe as violent treason, to live free and in peace in Alexander Lukashenko's autocratic Belarus. If only my family had the same option, when they had to flee what is now Belarus, within inches of their lives. As the years went on, from the early part of the 20th century to the worst slaughter in human history in the 1940s, the situation continued to deteriorate. This cursed part of Lithuanian Belarus was a graveyard for my people, killing around 95% of my community, scattering the rest to the far corners of the earth, places like New York, Argentina, and South Africa. Communal life was never to return to the Gershater family's hometown of MIKALIŠKმაგრ. Yevgeny Prigozhin is much luckier. Despite Belarus just recently being delivered tactical nuclear weapons by Russia, the repressive last dictatorship of Europe does have a degree of autonomy. Last dictatorship of Europe. The term seems quaint when it was coined in the 1990s. Now sadly we see, around the world, that democracy forever is no longer the assumed positive trajectory of the long arc of human civilization. The leader of an armed insurrection, who you would think would be a huge political target, has apparently worked out some sort of arrangement for immunity. Ostensibly, this mass murderer can live out his days in peace, enjoying the finest life that Belarus can offer. My family was not as lucky. The soldiers of fortune left behind will not face the same comfortable fate as their CEO, insurrectionist-in-chief. If the soldiers are not murdered along the way, any participants will be sent back to prisons that they were plucked from to complete their terms of confinement, regardless of the body count they inflicted on Ukrainian civilians. I wouldn't trust the new expanded Russian army that folds in some of the good guys of the Wagner group forces to fight with the same intensity this summer. The logistics and military command is not of the same caliber, and the whole affair is likely a big blow to morale, fighting in distant Ukrainian foreign lands from wherever the mercenaries came from, deep inside Russia. We shall see and pray for peace. Let's see how the developments in this wild post-COVID world turn together, and try to enjoy the ride.